Acts 25. And appealed to the highest court. When the new governor, Festus, arrived in the province, the leaders in Jerusalem immediately tried to pressure him into sending Paul back to their city. They were still hiding a plan to attack Paul on the road, but Festus invited them to Caesarea instead to hold a proper trial. Once again, they threw many serious accusations at Paul, but they couldn't prove a single one. Paul knew that if he went back to Jerusalem, he wouldn't get a fair trial. Standing his ground, he declared, "I am standing before the emperor's court, where I ought to be tried. I have done nothing wrong. I appealed to Caesar." This was a very big deal because, as a Roman citizen, Paul had the right to have his case heard by the emperor in Rome himself. Festus conferred with his advisors and replied, "You have appealed to Caesar. To Caesar you will go." Acts 26. Paul speaks to King Agrippa. Before Paul was sent away on a ship, King Agrippa and his sister Bernice arrived in Caesarea to visit Festus. Since the king was very familiar with Jewish customs, Festus asked him to listen to Paul's story to help figure out what to write. In the official report to Rome, Paul was brought into a grand room filled with high-ranking officers and the leading men of the city. Paul wasn't afraid of the king's power. Instead, he felt happy to share his story. He told the king about his strict upbringing and how he used to think it was his job to stop the followers of Jesus. Then, he described the moment that changed everything. The light from heaven that was brighter than the sun and the voice of Jesus calling his name. He explained that he was only telling people what the prophets and Moses had said long ago, that the Messiah would suffer and rise from the dead to bring light to everyone. His words were so powerful that Festus interrupted, shouting that Paul's great learning was driving him crazy. But Paul turned to King Agrippa and asked if he believed the prophets. The king was so moved that he asked Paul, "Do you think you can persuade me to become a Christian in such a short time?" Paul replied that he prayed everyone there would one day follow Jesus, just as he did. After the meeting, the king told Festus that Paul hadn't done anything to deserve death or prison, and he could have been set free if he hadn't already appealed to Caesar. Now, the path was clear. Paul was headed for Rome. Numbers 16, 17 and 18.